Welcome. You are at the CCC.
Where there are no outside issues. My name's Anthony. I'm an addict and an alcoholic, another bozo on the bus, and I care about you.
Yes, and I'm LouiLou. My pronouns are he and him. I'm in recovery for crystal meth and alcohol, and I am always in search of balance. Yes, and each week we strive to create a brave space where we can engage in conversations around topics of recovery.
And our intention is to hold and inspire better spaces for more people in recovery by tackling issues sometimes used to separate us.
Yes, but before we do that, please like, share, comment on this episode, rate it if you must, and ding that bell.
And ding that bell. Ding, 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 ding. And now I'm buying myself time because there is so much intro music that lasts so long. Y'all didn't know I could sing.
We still don't.
That's how we're starting. And the disclaimer, Louis is an asshole.
Oh, boy.
That's not a secret.
The thoughts, views, and opinions expressed on At the CCC are ours alone. We do not represent anyone but ourselves. The information shared here is for general information purposes only. In other words, we're just a couple of friends behind a mic here to entertain you, and Louis is an asshole.
Yeah, you know what? It's like, wow, okay. So if you're listening
Okay, first off, no, now you got the producer on your side.
Oh,
If
no.
you're
Not the
listening-
sound
stuck
effects.
in the middle.
Yeah, oh no.
Yeah, if you're listening regularly, I want you to chronicle all the times that you have seen Anthony come for me in the way that challenged.
First off, people don't see what you say and do to me off camera.
See, that's what they all say. You don't see what happens off
Hi,
camera.
Jaylon. Thank you for that message, Jaylon.
It doesn't count if you don't see it.
It doesn't count if
Yeah,
you...
we love you, Jaylon.
don't.
Madonna's here when we're not filming and recording.
Prima donna, singular, Louis. Okay, so Dr. Damas is back.
Yeah.
Hi.
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 How are you? So you got some feedback from the last time you were back that we couldn't see your face.
It was clearly like
The whole time.
Just rub it on my face. I did get some feedback that my face wasn't very clear, and so now I'm being more mindful of that.
Yeah, I noticed that he gave you angelic lighting.
look how beautiful you are. It's like,
yeah,
I
thank you.
love
He
it.
gave you
I
the
took a
best
shower
lighting.
today right before coming.
Did you take a shower? Okay.
Oh.
Uh-oh.
Look at.
He tells me to put it up, and then you move it down.
You know what? You listen to him,
And
you
I'm going to
ignore
tell you
me.
to move it to the side.
Okay.
So how's everyone doing?
I'm good. I'm really good. It's like I have been taking care of a lot of business. It's like this last week since I met with you guys. It's like, I feel like I am really kind of actively participating in my life
Oh.
more
That's
than I
great.
was. So that's pretty cool.
Jaylon said he skipped Zumba for us. I'm grateful.
Absolutely, yes.
Wait, what are you even talking about?
No, you know what I love?
Who skips-
Well, he has Zumba now.
We actually moved Zumba to yesterday.
Yeah,
Okay.
I went. Oh, we did Zumba together. I was
it
his
was nice.
guest.
That was a condition. If you went to Zumba with me, then I would come back.
No, oh, nice.
Okay.
Oh, let's see. You're good. It's like I'm all.
That was not what
just-
happened.
I just pimped Anthony out. I'm all.
That's what I do.
Anthony's gonna go do
Our
Zumba with
guest.
you. Okay.
It was a lot of fun, actually. Those women put me to shame. They were like these old. They were like middle-aged women. Some even more than. I saw some women like late 60s.
Did you wear an
70s.
off-the-shoulder number to go with your?
You know I did, and some leg warmers.
Yeah, right on.
I wore a bustier.
She's a
and everything.
maniac. Maniac.
We actually did that. We did that motion
Nice.
at court. Anyway, it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, it was really great. I
Dr.
always feel
Damas
great
is
when we
very
have some
good.
exercise. I am very good.
He's
I have
very
some
good.
gyrating hips that like are my moneymaker.
Yeah, you
for
were
sure.
you did this one.
So
you
does
did
that
this
mean
one
you have?
really well.
Does that mean you have twitchy muscles like when people who were not of the person of color persuasion would be trying to explain like why black people dance better, a stereotype or whatever, they would suggest that we had more twitching muscles.
Oh, I remember this. Okay, well, yes.
Okay.
Not yes, I'm agreeing, but yes, I remember.
Okay, go ahead.
I remember that, which is horrible. So
Absolutely. But I worked it into a conversation as much as I could after somebody would say something like that because I wanted them to feel uncomfortable.
yeah, you were giving me Ziwa. Is that her name? Ziwa Energy, where she like does gotcha. She's like, so how do you feel like benefiting from white supremacy?
I like her a lot, actually.
Yeah, I like her a lot. You know who got her back was Katya. Have you seen that?
I have not seen that. No.
Oh my God, Katya like turned it back around on her. It was really funny.
I need to see that. I'm going to make sure I see that.
It was really good.
How are you doing? I know that it was kind of joint.
Yeah, no, well, let's hear how Dr. Damas is doing.
You know, I have had a challenging week, but we're in a good spot right now. I think I've been really tested with patience and faith. And, you know, it's life happens. But overall, I've been trying to be a good boy and stay out of trouble.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you?
Thank you.
Yes.
You said we. Who's we? Who's we?
Me, myself, and I.
Oh,
Yeah.
I see.
Right
I
on.
see.
The different personalities that live inside of
The
me.
regal we. The regal.
The royal we.
The royal we.
The
yeah.
royal we.
I'm good. What I started driving for Lyft to make extra money for Aruba because I'm going to Aruba in October with my family. Man, let me tell you, I meet all types of people. I see all types. Today, one of the things I saw early this morning, some guy got out of this like huge tractor trailer and like walked in front of a car and blocked it and like started yelling at the guy inside of the car. I was like, man, things are going down in San Francisco. It was like 9 a.m. But then I've also have met some lovely people. My last writer today was someone who actually used to be sober and like was talking about like their time and like we knew similar people, which was really interesting.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Such a strange thing.
Maybe I should download Lyft because it's
my
like that
mic
way
smells so bad.
Maybe I should download Lyft so I can call you and possibly have you come pick me up.
That would be amazing.
I was no this time all. Yeah, let's.
Gives me two. Yeah, my mic smells really bad. We need to clean the fucking mics.
How do you do that?
I don't
Can you
know.
take
I
these
think
off?
it's just this thing here, but I'm not because this is a spit guard.
Can you?
Well, don't do that.
Can you replace it? How does that sound? Can you replace it? We can probably replace these too.
Yeah, maybe we should get like colorful ones. I love that we're doing like a lot of visual stuff and we're a podcast.
Yeah, if you
and it's
are
also
just listening, what we were doing was we're messing with the mics because every other show, like Anthony has an issue with his little mic thing or whatever.
Shut up.
This is one point.
Get on my nerves.
We're killing time since we don't have to ask.
No, we actually
we don't have to ask.
We don't have to ask you through. But I was actually just looking at the clock and I'm like, oh my God, we're really going to hit the 10-minute mark and we haven't even started talking about today's topic
because we're having so much fun.
We are having so much fun. But shall we pivot?
Yes, pivot.
Yes.
So who's this? What did Brandon say? There's new ones in the box.
Oh, okay.
Wait, where did we get new ones?
Oh, Brandon, right on. Brandon is like Jesus of the podcast. He just went, okay.
He would be our executive producer.
Next week we're going to have new ones here, and Anthony's still going to be complaining about him.
You know what, Lewis? I don't.
2 points.
Let's pivot.
Let's pivot. So today's discussion, today's topic is actually coming from a viewer, a comment that was made by a viewer last week. And they asked the question about, well, what do you do when you don't have insurance? And what do you do when, maybe you're in the middle of a town that you don't have like access to certain resources. And so the three of us got together, well, not together, but the three of us on our own, we decided to do some research. And so we all did some research and we decided not to exchange notes with each other. And then we would come on and talk about the things that we found along the way. And so today's episode is called Uninsured and Under-Resourced, Navigating Addiction Care. So everyone's grabbing their phones to look at their notes. So I want to start off the discussion by saying that the good news is is that, at least from my research, and I'm wondering how other folks feel about it, there are resources all over the place, no matter where you are, at least in the continental United States.
Absolutely.
I agree.
Yeah, there are resources all over the place, and there are ways to access them. And so what I'm hoping that we do today is give you a framework for, one, to think about how to access those resources. And then two, we're going to give you some like very specific things that you could do or look for. So first question is, first brush, what was it like to like actually look for the resource? Was it difficult for y'all to find things? What was that like?
You know what I will say? Okay, so I realized in me looking, first off, I went in having information, at knowing kind of what I wanted to look for. So I realized that's something that I need to take into consideration as I'm looking, because there are some people who, like, I remember the struggle to get to recovery. I knew I needed something. I didn't necessarily know I needed recovery. Like that place before, because you know how when you hear people share and say, I didn't know that I wanted to be recovered. You know, in the beginning I thought maybe I just needed to calm down. So that was the thing. But I have everything at my fingertips. And so I had to think, well, what happens if somebody doesn't have this? They don't have, and so where I landed with my kind of research is I was thinking about, like, if I'm in a small town, a small area that's cut off, how do I find it if I don't have even the basics, even like a phone? Because I can't assume everybody has access to the internet.
That's right.
Or a phone.
Right.
That's right.
And I decided to treat it just like anytime I moved to a new area, the first thing I look for is the library or the city buildings. And just like on my Google, I started out looking for national stuff. You can always kind of start there. You can start with your library. They're going to give you resources, connecting, maybe have access to internet, even if there's 13 people in line waiting to use it.
Yeah.
And then also city and the country, like our government, they have like a national hotline, which was really cool.
They do.
Yeah.
They do. Yeah.
My research took an approach where I tried to use all the government assistance, and particularly I was really focusing on the National Institute of Health, and they have several kind of sub-programs within it for alcohol abuse and substance use. And so I went to those knowing that those were going to be reliable resources that we could count on. Because the thing that I was thinking about when I was doing the actual resource is the fact that you have to use some discernment. There's a lot of stuff out there from companies that are making profit and want your information and so forth, and they're being sold as like government assistance and whatnot. So I really just focused on the ones that I knew were coming directly from the research and the government departments of the NIH. So that's how I conducted my research, because I wanted to be, there's a lot out there. This is, rehabs and rehabilitation centers and so forth. They're a huge business.
Oh yeah. That's right.
And so they're trying to get your information any way they can. And so I that's how I kind of directed my focus. I really used the government websites, and I also used there's always like a provider kind of information page, and then there's the client or information page. And I went with the provider to kind of see, like, if I'm in a provider, I need to send somebody to a treatment center,
exactly.
like where to go. And the great thing is I found a few resources, and then I took it a step further. And so my mom lives in Burlington, North Carolina. There's like nothing there. And I punched in her zip code, and they showed me like the resources available. And so that was kind of my idea of like, at least in a small town, you could see what's closest to you based on this resource. And so I thought that was really cool. I got really excited about that.
That's really awesome. So it sounds like you're both saying that it's really important in the very beginning to have an understanding of what it is that you're going to look for. We have a comment that just came in from Bonnie Violet, and it says, do you know how they are with LGBTQ SIA? So that's a very, very good question. So I can tell you, and you know what, actually let's put it in the parking lot, because that is worth a lot more attention than just an answer to a question. But I will say this much, Bonnie Violet, that one of the things that I happen to know is that, for example, rehabilitation centers, unless they're geared specifically to LGBT plus people, they tend to be hostile spaces, especially for trans folks. So So I want to keep that in mind when we are looking at different resources. But it sounds hearts to you too. Yeah. So it sounds like what you're both saying is like knowing what it is that you're looking for. Okay. Mm-hmm. And so I guess what were some of the key terms that you use to look for things?
So I started, like I said, I know about the National Institute of Health. And so I went to the NIH website, and it really was eye-opening for me. There's a lot of various different sectors of that. There's like cancer research and pharmaceutical research. And so they have two that are really well known. And so one of them is called SAMHSA. This is the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Service Administration, which you can go to samhsa.gov.
I went there.
And that is how I got a lot of information, and it kind of led me to findtreatment.gov. The other one that I use, which is a subset of the NIH, again, it's the National Institute on Alcohol Abuse and Alcoholism, which is called the NIAAA. And they also have an option to find alcohol treatment or find centers. Now, I took a screenshot of this, and in those search boxes, there's a filter, and one of the things was like inpatient, outpatient, IOP, and so forth. That was one of the things. But the one I focused on was Medicaid or Medicare or uninsured or having government assistance insurance to kind of filter that. And it gave me a nice list of places that would provide service given that search criteria.
Yeah, one of the things that I liked about SAMHSA is that, so we have their number. It's just right off the bat is that they offer a free referral service. Yeah. And so for folks who might need it, it's 1-800-662-HELP or 1-800-662-4357. So they're open 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, every day of the year. They offer services in English and Spanish. Mm-hmm. And then, so I just really like that it's a free referral service. And then the other thing that I really liked about them, did you say the treatment locator? Did you talk about that?
I think that yes.
Is that the thing that you were? Yeah, yeah. I thought that was pretty dope. But they also offer text messages.
Oh, I did not know that.
But they only do it in English, so not in Spanish. So,
Ay, Dios mío.
Ay, Dios mío. Stupid. So the text messaging service, the number is help for you, which is very cute. So it's help, the number 4, and then the letter U, or you can text 435-748. So that's 435-748. So I love that one. It was 24 hours, 7 days a week. That it's a free referral service. So the only downside of that, is like, because it's a free referral service, you don't necessarily know if you're going to be getting like a free service or if it's going to be like a reduced pay service. But I think one of the good things about it is that at least you're able to like locate specifically wherever you are, right, in the country. So it's like a good place to start. What were you going to say, Luis?
No, I wasn't going to say anything. I was looking using some of the same kind of keywords, and then throwing in LGBTQ.
And what did you find?
Well, for what's interesting, you have the Trevor Project for young people. Mm-hmm. I mean, and that's a great place to kind of start. I mean, the Trevor Project is a organization that is well known. And to speak to what you were saying, because obviously it's a big business, and the last thing I want is would be to send someone who's already kind of fearful and maybe not trusting to a place that's going to kind of take advantage of them more.
Yeah. What were you going to say, Dr. Damas?
Just going off of that, the other thing that I failed to mention that I did is, again, using Burlington, North Carolina, which is in the middle of nowhere. I went to their county website, and then I went to the Department of Health in that county.
Oh, nice.
And I only did it for San Francisco, and I did it for the Burlington, North Carolina. But I'm assuming every county has a Department of Health website. And then there was options to explore treatment centers, both mental health and substance use. And so that's also another good place to start, because I anticipate that if you call them and you tell them what you're looking for, they can kind of navigate that. And they can also help you hopefully get the insurance if you need to apply for insurance, right? That's also a big obstacle in getting care, right? Like going through the process, submitting all the documents, and getting a case manager to kind of help you that. And so the Department of Health is always also a good start. Now, With Burlington, North Carolina, it was a little limited. It wasn't the greatest in comparison to San Francisco, Los Angeles, but there was something there.
Yeah, I think that's I was thinking about it the same way, Dr. Damas. Like I was thinking about how you need to start somewhere, and like if we're putting out, like the first thing you want to do is like you want to stop the bleeding, right? And like and part of that is like just finding what's available. To Bonnie Violet's question, I think part of like I think what makes it difficult is sometimes there are intersections that we have to honor when we're like looking for resources, especially when they pertain to our health. And I think that's one of those, I think that is an inherently like complicated situation, especially like I love your example of, where's your mom from again?
Burlington, North Carolina.
Yeah. Like I love that example, right? Which is like, what if you're like a young queer person who's struggling with meth, right? Which is like, that's a lot to hold in that situation.
This exercise that we did, I mean, and I was talking about this with my sponsor earlier, it kind of shone a light on my privilege.
Yes. Oh shit! Okay, for like living in San Francisco.
Because having Bonnie Violet like mention that, it's like the fact that I didn't have to. I mean, it was in the back of my mind, but I'm like, I didn't think. I thought about other factors, but I didn't think about. Oh my God! You're in the middle of Burlington, Alabama?
North Carolina.
I'm all
the same.
I don't know. Yes, it's a Burlington somewhere. I thought
Burlington
it was
confused with the Burlington Coat
Factory.
I thought it was Coat Factory. But it's like could you imagine? It's like I'm like gobsmacked. Like this idea that like, okay, great, you can get our services, but then you have to contend with some of the challenges, some of the roadblocks that trans individuals or even gay individuals have to deal with. And I'm like, oh.
Yeah.
With that in mind, there's a few other resources that are also available. If you think about it, churches provide a lot of assistance and a lot of support for people who are struggling with substance use disorder. However, that there could be a differences in opinion in terms of like being queer and so forth. And so I say that very judiciously, like, but that exists. And then not to forget that what you mentioned last week about going to an AA meeting or CMA meeting and asking those individuals there about what resources are available, because somebody will have some experience, is also a really good place to start.
Absolutely. And Bonnie Violet just posted that they are starting, we're starting a queer CMA meeting as there isn't one in Boise. I'm all, look at that, bringing your coffee pot and yourself and starting a new meeting.
Yo, can I just, sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Well, I'm tripping a little bit because I'm like, I thought I put enough time on the meter. And I just got a notification.
I got a ticket yesterday.
I fucking hate this.
What did she write? It can be difficult to get a bed here, and many of the devices are faith-based. Faith-based and not affirming. Many expect them to hide or to not be queer.
No, of course. I was speaking of faith-based organizations. I was looking at Glide, for example. Did I put on this side? I was looking at Glide, and so what's interesting is that Glide, they do have like ancillary services, so like housing, food. I didn't see anything that was specific to. So when I say Glide, I mean Glide Church, which is a very progressive church in San Francisco.
A lot of the churches, because I was involved with the City of Refuge, and they have a lot of ancillary programs like that. And I think that like when we're thinking of these faith-based programs, they're amazing, but they're probably not the best examples.
Yeah, it's not. You're not going to like go in, and they're not going to have like a Vogue
affirming.
workshop.
They're quite affirming. It's like City of Refuge. What I loved about that is the bishop was a same gender loving woman, and she used to always say, "Bring your luggage." Somebody's got a matching set here. I think too, and speaking about okay, so. I used to automatically assume that everybody was in dark ages in a lot of these areas, but I believe that there are some. I mean, there are some people who truly are Christian and truly are there for the right reasons, and so I think that it's always worth it to explore. I mean, not to just dismiss it because, but that's easy for me to say. Because I kick the door open and walk in and say, I'm here.
I think about it. There is a part of me that says, Yes. Like I'm from a really small town, right? And if I'm struggling with drugs and alcohol, like, of course I would want to be in an affirming place. And sometimes that is not available to me. And I think in those cases, speaking personally, it's like, I have to prioritize my health, and I have to find ways to make that safe for myself.
Yeah.
And I don't know, for example, that like the answer to that would be for me to like not go about receiving treatment. I think what might be helpful in those cases is like to find a support system outside of like whatever like service you're receiving. But I think even that can be hard, because I'm thinking about Burlington Coat Factory.
North Carolina.
Thank you. It's like
Shout out, Mom.
Yeah. But I think about that. Go ahead.
Something that came up just popped in my head when you were talking. And so there are many, many programs that have intensive outpatient programs, which are like virtual.
Yeah.
And if you feel more comfortable attending one of those on Zoom per se, instead of trying to find somewhere in your community that won't welcome you for who you are, that is also a possibility. It is not the level of care that inpatient will give you, but it is something. And and it also comes to like what is your approach to your recovery at this point?
Especially like what Anthony said, if you're not able to kind of in that way prioritize and or for lack of a better way, like hide or only focus. Because I mean, I absolutely respect folks who like, I need to be true out and who I am and accepted in order for me to be able to kind of gel with whatever kind of recovery that I'm gonna. But yeah,
that it's difficult. I'm trying to renew my parking, but it won't let me do it because I already was there for 2 hours. Oh my God, I'm going to get a fucking ticket. No, I'm not going to. No,
I can hold the show.
Yeah, exactly.
That was your plan all along.
Welcome to At the CCC.
Bonnie,
Dr. Damas and LouiLou.
That was the whole plan. The whole
time. Bonnie Violet writes, many states like Idaho just passed laws that no state funds can be used for trans health care, probably including substance treatment, or they'll have to stop one for the other. That's, yes, there are laws that, well, number one, thank you for the comment, Bonnie Violet, and for your participation today. I think that, well, what I'm thinking of here too is like that's a really interesting point, because I think we see the same thing with women's reproductive rights, right? Where like there are these ways that like one can be like.
Sorry, it slipped.
Yeah. Anyway, well, I hear this point, which speaks to the conflict of like having multiple identities, and especially living in, say, like Mid-America.
I don't. You know what I think? This is also just kind of a really important thing. Is like this is where there are some point, like we have to take civil responsibility to like lobby and go talk to our representation and government, because the truth is like your voices need to be heard in order for things to happen and to change, right? And this is where I encourage. I've done a lot of lobbying before for other reasons, but going to your state senator or going to your congressman, these are ways that you can say like, this is important. We need help, and and they really try to listen. I assume they try their best to listen to their constituents, but you never know.
Yeah, and this, I don't want this to sound like a judgment, but it'll probably will. This is to the single issue voters. That's like sometimes not voting because you don't like how one thing is. It's like you're missing an opportunity to speak up with regards to all of these other issues that come up, because
Oh shit.
What, you need to go and do that?
No. The time is just going by so fast.
I know, it's amazing.
Well, sorry, go ahead.
No, I finished. I just wanted to. That was my little plug.
Yeah, it's a nice plug.
There was there was something that Dr. Damas had mentioned that I want to give the address for. So he was talking about, I don't want to talk about you like you're not here, but he was talking about the treatment locator. Oh my God, did you hear me burp?
No,
It was involuntary.
We would not have even known, but you said something. It's just like
I have to, because there was a time where I was listening.
I just farted.
Okay, I don't announce it like it just happened, like it was involuntary.
It is warm in here.
Okay,
Sweaty.
So treatment locator, they'd be great. So that'd be great. So the treatment locator, the address for that is Find Treatment. So findtreatment.samhsa. So findtreatment.samhsa.gov. So that's findtreatment.samhsa.gov. What is that?
Oh, I think it's the same locator, but findtreatment.gov, so you don't have to worry about the whole SAMHSA.
Oh, okay. So that one too. So read that one off.
Yeah. So it's findtreatment.gov.
I wonder if it's the same one.
It's probably
either
the same
way.
one.
Like we want you to find treatment, and there. Oh, yeah, I think it is because look, you have this up here too.
Yeah, it has the 988 suicide crisis lifeline.
Yeah, that was going to be my next thing. So
disaster distress. Yes.
Yeah. So 988, the text number for emotional and substance use support 24/7. So that's you would text 988 for emotional and substance use support, which is we'll mention that.
And the other thing, if you go to the very bottom of the page, it has language assistance, and just a quick glance, there's a multitude of different languages. And so if you know somebody who needs that, just in their own language in order to understand and make proper decisions, that is, I can't even tell you what other languages there are here, but I see Spanish and I see Tagalog and
Portuguese
French and Italian, but there's a wide range of
Russian,
those. Right?
Vietnamese. Korean.
That is Korean, Hangul.
Yeah. The other thing is, while we're talking about resources, the other thing you can do is you can go to the National Council on Alcoholism and Drug Dependence. So the address is ncadd.us. So that's ncadd.us. And the way to use that website is you can go to Get Help. And then there's you have an option of what kind of help, and you can click Get Immediate Help, and then you can find local assistance.
We can probably include this in one of our when this is reposted, huh?
Yeah, I mean, there probably yes. And then the other thing that I wanted to say is, what happened, Dr. Damas?
Oh, I would be if I didn't mention this, I feel like I left something really important out.
What is it?
Where it is that if you do need immediate medical emergency, or you need to see 911 or go to the emergency department, somebody's in psychosis, somebody is under the influence and trying to hurt themselves, wherever you are, there's an obligation that the emergency department has to make sure you're stable. And in that situation, many times they'll have some kind of case manager work with you and kind of help you out. But we're talking about, people who are looking for resources, and it would be, if I forgot that.
Thank you for that. So call 911 if you feel like you're having a medical emergency. The other thing that I wanted to say is going back to something that you were actually saying a bit ago about contacting public health agencies, is that one of the things that I found is that every state has a state office. And this is important because state offices will generally have a bunch of information about substance abuse or public health in general. And typically the state offices will have websites, obviously, that you can visit. They have phone numbers you can call. There are places that you can email. You can also send them regular mail. And the reason why I'm bringing that up is because, if you don't have a phone or maybe you don't have a computer, there are other ways of getting a hold of people.
I don't think we said this about or maybe you did, about the SAMHSA National Health Line, because this is what stood out for me. First, they had it's a 988 number. Mm-hmm. And it also, it is 24/7, 365-day-a-year treatment referral and information service, and it's in English and in Spanish.
Oh, thank you.
Yes. Yeah.
That was very informative.
Yeah, thank you. That was really good.
Yeah, I saw that. That was the first thing I'm gonna put that so I look all smart and stuff. Because I am sitting next to a doctor. I'm sitting next to a doctor and someone else who's in preparation to be
There's
a doctor.
Nothing in there inside.
Exactly.
That's okay. Just because. So nothing.
Got to do what I can to keep up.
Yeah. If you know, you know. Yeah. If you know, you know. So we've got 10 minutes.
It's amazing how fast this time went.
Yeah, I think it's because we all were like, you do a bunch of work and you come back and then
it's all because we did a bunch of crystal meth and
I did not. Don't say that, please. For the record, no.
Yeah, no. Anthony's
Anthony, not me.
He doesn't do the crystal meth.
He doesn't do the.
He didn't do the. Yeah.
I
think also just because we're having a good time, and I think this is like really important as well. We're being of service, and I think we're
normalizing having these conversations because I can enjoy my time with you or whatever, and I can also make sure that like I'm adding value and taking value from what we do. You know, it doesn't have to be like superficial. You know, like obviously we have relationships that are superficial. You know, like I like going shopping with you to the movies or whatever. Just being silly, but you know what? I want more. I want more, doctor.
Oh, yeah. I take people to Zumba.
I know. I went to Zumba and he changed my life.
I know. It's like I'm all right now.
That was a lot of fun. Maybe someone should host a Zumba class here.
They should. That'd be cool.
I bet you people would come if there was like a Zumba class here.
I believe a while back we had yoga. I think that they were thinking about Zumba here too. We had yoga, but could you imagine? It's bad enough coming in here on Wednesday after the one meeting.
The God box.
We come in and we all have to open the windows and the doors and pray.
Oh, and it's all sweaty and the watercolor paintings are like coming undone.
Some people like that.
What?
Well, yeah,
like
some
sweatiness.
Some people.
You know, it's hot yoga.
Yeah. Have you done hot yoga?
I just get really hot. I'm a sweaty
I remember
person.
I saw you yesterday.
I've done a form of hot yoga at Steamworks.
I feel
acrobats at Steamworks.
A little stretching and
hurt my back a few times. I'm sweaty again. No, I'm a very sweaty person. So yesterday I told Anthony, I was like, when I'm done working out, it looks like I just walked out of the shower and I'm just drenched. You know.
I didn't think you were more sweaty than you were sweaty, but you weren't like where I thought you maybe should see a doctor.
No. It's a healthy.
He went right there.
I drink a lot of water, so my pores are just releasing toxins.
He's checking your temperature and your pulse. It's like, you okay?
I'm gonna bring one of those like the blood pressure oh my God, what is my problem? The cuffs, the blood pressure cuffs. Okay, well, we are.
So I guess to bring this pot down to that boil or whatever, like, you know, because some important things were brought up that maybe still weren't kind of addressed because we don't know.
Right.
So what's I think a good place to start, and it may have been kind of alluded to, like, you know, at least reaching out to. If you have a major problem, going to 911, going to your health department, going to meetings or whatever, maybe just being aware that you have an issue and getting started with the process.
It's about having a conversation with someone, hopefully a trusted person, and starting there.
I also think that it's a very daunting process, right? Like if you're actively using and you are you want help, and you see all of this around you, it can be very like, oh, I'm overwhelmed. I'm going to shut down instead.
Absolutely.
And so I would encourage you, if you are feeling that, like, just start moving. Just take the action. Like, just move in a step, inch by inch. You know, take it minute by minute. Because at the end of the day, like, no matter if you're in the best treatment center in Malibu or you're at the Salvation Army, like, if you don't have the initiative or the desire to be in recovery, then it doesn't make a difference.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah, absolutely.
And on that note, I think we'll start landing the plane.
Let's land that plane. So yes, the Castro Country Club is a safe and sober community center for all people and a refuge for the LGBTQ recovery community.
We provide programs and services that help people change their lives by supporting personal growth.
Our vision is to reduce the suffering of addiction by connecting people to community, opportunity, and support.
You can find more information, including all the ways to contact us, at www.castrocountryclub.org/podcast.
Yes, and tune in every Tuesday at 4 p.m. Pacific Standard Time when we go live on our Castro Country Club Facebook and YouTube channels.
Find us wherever you listen to podcasts. And we're still recording.
You know, I didn't know that we would stop the live feed. So last week when I was here, I was like, "Oh, we're done. Thank you." You know, and there's this long pause. I heard it today on the Spotify. So I'm glad that I know now that
there's a pause. Wait,
that there's
your episode is already up?
Oh,
Yeah.
I get
It's up already.
alerts.
Okay, Steven.
Yeah. No,
Hey, shout out to Steven.
It wasn't you, it was
Oh,
Brandon. Okay, Brandon.
Shout out to
Yeah,
Brandon.
no, it's amazing. 'Cause
Oh,
it's like,
shit.
It makes a world of difference because it's like when we start.
We start telling people to go on.
Yeah, we talked because before it's like when we were doing this after show thing,
Yeah.
it took a really long time. And all. Well, eventually it's going to happen. So you just be
Yeah.
patient.
Oh, Brandon, thank you so much for doing that. That's really awesome.
I was really proud of being here, and I just shared it with my social media. So I was like, I'll make sure when I have that information when it's out. And I went to Spotify and I liked, the podcast, and then it just alarmed me today that we had gotten out.
Nice, very nice.
So I put it on my Instagram.
Oh my God, thank you so much.
Yeah, it's
Add
nice
me.
because I have
Like
a
and
few
subscribe.
people locally that I talk to all the time, and they have and they talk about this, and they were talking about this episode in particular.
About this one?
Yeah.
Yeah, this episode has been really popular. And ketamine has been
yeah.
really
Ooh,
popular.
yeah.
The ketamine episode has been pretty popular.
Well, yeah, 'cause it's like I'm all. I think like we talked about. It's like these are not things that people are talking about openly.
Brandon's in the studio.
Yeah. Hey, Brandon.
Hi,
Where are you
Brandon.
going? Why did you come in and why are you leaving?
He's checking for the covers for the mic because you were complaining online.
Because they smell like butt. They smell. Brandon's coming in here and rubbing his sweaty butt on the mic. Oh, yes.
Because some people like sweaty butt.
Sweaty butt.
That's a commercial.
Yeah, this was pretty cool. I really like this exercise.
I think it was really smooth and cohesive.
Yeah, I think Louis, to your point, I do feel spoiled. I feel like I'm in San Francisco. Sometimes I forget I'm gay because everyone around me is gay.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
It's so easy.
I forget that I'm not part of the majority.
Not at all.
Until
It's like-
someone says something ignorant.
I really did. Okay, so I was living here all the time in my active addiction or whatever, and I was in the shelter at the time, and I was invited to go to this men's retreat.
Okay.
It was a men's retreat through the church, through St. Vincent de Paul.
Uh-huh.
And so I went down, and it was in Los Altos Hills at a Jesuit center. And, okay, he came over and fixed my mic. At a Jesuit center. And the whole day, I realized that I was suppressing my gayness. I mean,
Yeah.
obviously, it's as much as I can, or I thought I could.
Like your voice got deeper. And
Yeah, exactly. I was deliberately doing things. And then I went to lunch half through the day, and I realized, you know what? I'm robbing myself of having this experience that all these other guys are having because I'm unable to be honest. And so when I came back, the first thing I did, all dramatically, like I was on Dynasty, is like, I just need to share with everybody I'm gay. And they're all, yeah.
Yeah, we know, girl.
Yeah, okay, whatever.
Surprise.
Whatever, queen. It's like, I'm all weird. No, it's like when I came out to my family. But yeah,
Oh, yeah.
I feel like what you were saying is like, it is so easy to take that for granted because gay's the norm here. Even when we have a person who makes a comment or says something derogatory, I'm all, what are you doing here? Go away. This is our space.
Yeah, that's so interesting. There's been a lot of research done on gay voice, quote unquote, gay voice or gay sound.
It's really interesting.
It's very, very interesting what they found. Well, some research has found that there are more linguistic similarities among gay people across the country than there are heterosexual people in the same region.
Oh yeah. I've always said our language. There's a magical song to it.
we
The way-
inflict
I-
a
you
lot.
know, I don't-
Yeah.
Yeah, I wonder. Were you going to hit something over there, Stephen? He was going to hit a button. Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes. Well, I also, this is totally not related to what we were talking about, but I think a lot about so I've been all over the country, and in the South, gay in the South felt very different from gay in the inner city, right? Mm-hmm. And I've also I've also questioned a lot about what is it that we call gay culture, and where does the gay voice come from, right? Because a lot of expression or the gender expression, maybe sexual orientation expression, I don't know, is informed by what we see modeled, or I don't know, but there's something quite interesting about where that comes from. Like, where does that come from? Like, how is it that like a lisp has come to be associated with gay men?
You know, what I think about, what just came to mind was like when I was growing up, there was not a lot of gay characters on TV.
No, not at all.
And I remember sneaking off and watching Queer as Folk.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like that gave me like, this is my lifestyle, you know, which is, you know. And I think many people have also said that like they didn't see anything, and so they would go, you know, see Queer Eye or, you know, Queer as Folk, and the shows that were very limited, and that's how we got the experience. And you know, you kind of absorb what you're watching in many different ways.
Yeah, well, it's interesting because I had such a gripe with Queer as Folk because I remember being like a young gay kid and wanting to, like, I went through this phase where I wanted to be white because I thought like that was what was like ideal, right? Like, I'm this young gay boy, but I don't see brown and black bodies in any of the media. And so I remember watching Queer as Folk and being very angry with myself that I didn't look like Brian. Brian was like the main character. Yeah. But at the same time, I was so hungry for anything fucking gay that like I ate that shit up. You know what I mean?
Oh,
and
you did.
I did. And the soundtrack was amazing.
It was really good.
Oh my God,
was amazing.
Oh, yes. We used to watch it on Sunday nights. I had just moved up here. We used to watch it on Sunday nights, and we would go out and try to do everything that Brian did.
Oh.
Yeah, it's just so interesting. And you know, there are these like...
I was a child when it came out.
Yeah, there were these like really weird...
Okay.
These really weird tropes. You and I are not that far in age. How old are you?
Do I have to answer that?
No, you don't. No, you don't have to answer.
I am 34.
34.
Yeah, no, I'm definitely older than you.
I'm 39. Steven? Just kidding.
I don't discriminate based on age.
Yeah. But where are we going with all of that? Culture. Yeah, like gay culture and queer culture. And like, so I've been thinking a lot about that recently. I think I've talked about my research on male same-sex intimate partner violence and how I've been thinking a lot about how like masculinity shows up in gay culture and how there's this way that we've and by we, I mean kind of like in a general sense, have prioritized a kind of white middle class masculinity.
Oh, God, yeah.
You know what I mean? Anyway, so that's totally off topic, but what were you going to say, Dr.
I think it's going back to the idea, just to further your point, it's that geography matters. So, for example, and this is my personal experience, I can't say that it's, but in San Francisco, I have a hard time finding men's to hang out with. And I think it's because of that, like I don't fit the stereotype, like 6 foot tall, beard, white, blue eye, yada yada. But if I go to Oakland or I go to Los Angeles, it's a whole different.
Oh my God! It's like all of a
I
sudden
can't even keep up with the messages, which I need the validation. But you know, it's
I walk across.
Let me tell you, I love where this conversation went. Because go ahead, sorry, finish.
It's based on where you are in terms of geography.
Straight up, yes. 100%. So like, for example, when I go to the Northeast, I feel like a motherfucking celebrity. You know what I mean? And it's because in the Northeast, there are a lot of Puerto Ricans. There's a big Latino population out there, and it feels very good. And I love that you said like, and I need the validation. I hate to admit that, but sometimes I need that validation because you go feeling invisible. Yeah. You know, one of the things that I've talked about with my partner is that like my partner's 6'2" and white, and there are times where like if we're walking where I feel invisible because you know everyone is like looking at him.
Mm-hmm. Well, living in this neighborhood is like I have to actively challenge myself not to judge myself based on this nonsense here. Yeah. Because it's like, it's not realistic. It's not realistic. Like, because like when I go back home and they're like, you need to gain weight. What's going on or whatever? And I come back here and say, you're morbidly obese.
I love this. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, for the people who can't see these two beautiful men next to me, they're beautiful. I just want to. You guys are so handsome, and Steven, behind the producer. Yeah, everybody's beautiful.
Steven is part of the problem. I'm kidding, Steven. You're absolutely gorgeous.
Sorry, I interrupted you.
No. But I went to this great talk at Berkeley Law years ago, and it was called The Erotic Life of Racism. And there was this great talk given. I mean, there's just, oh my God, there's just so much to talk about here, right? Like, But I think about, for example, like Latino bodies or like Latino features, right? And how I grew up around that, and I'm very attracted to those features, right? And so there are ways that what I've noticed over the years is that a lot of times, and maybe less so, but like a lot of times when you're thinking about like the sexualization of bodies, often it is a white male body that is being sexualized, and everything else is a deviation of that. So it's like, it's not like, it'll be like uncut Latino top, right? Like there are all these prefixes that you have to add to it. By Latin men, right? Like or macho fucker, right? Like they're like, it's always an exception. It's not part of
Black breeders.
And our sponsor.
Oh my God. I did not know that this
And a
was
message
gonna
from our
happen
sponsors,
today.
yeah.
But I do want to say that if you think about it, in the porn and sex industry, it's the only place where you're allowed to be racist.
Oh yeah.
You are allowed to say
that. Yeah.
Right,
Say
like,
that. Yeah.
You can literally say like white girl getting gangbanged by like like whatever
Yeah.
it is and whatever. And so it's the idea that it's so I don't know. People keep it under.
They had this
under
one
wrap.
video called "The N-Word's Revenge."
Oh yeah, I've seen multiple.
Shit like that. Yeah. Mira,
It wasn't called "The N-Word's Revenge." It was the actual word.
Yeah, no, it's the actual word.
And there's this way. I've had this conversation before, and there's this way where, like, I'll speak from my experience. So, like, as a Latino man, especially when I was having casual sex, like you can't be dynamic. Right. At least that's been my experience.
Yeah.
Where like in certain situations you can't be dynamic. But I think maybe that's also true for kind of casual sex culture in general, is that what we're generally kind of looking for are canvases where we can kind of project like our sexuality.
And you know,
but
that's a side of this conversation that's not even happening that I realize. The lesbians, the lesbians of color.
Oh my God,
women.
yes.
It's like they're so. Oh my God, it's like.
Yeah,
we can talk about this for a month, and we're going to.
Yeah, and we're going to. Well, maybe that'll be next month. The erotic life of racism.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a great topic.
Yeah. The erotic life of racism. I think. What did I want to say? Sex. Someone just texted me. No, it's my watch telling me I should stand up. I forgot. Wait. Where were we? No, there was something I wanted to say. There was erotic life. What were you saying? What was the last thing you said?
Scissoring.
Lesbians. Thank you. So, I feel like gay men have done lesbians dirty.
Oh, absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
They're like
100%.
There's so few spaces that are dedicated to lesbians. Most spaces are dominated by gay men.
Yeah.
And if you want like a lesbian night, that's what you have. It's a lesbian night. It's not like a lesbian club. And as far as I know, there aren't very many lesbian clubs in San Francisco.
Yeah, I think it's that. Okay, so this is going to get messy. It's that cis part of the gay man that comes in, that privilege that we still like. Because I think what it is like, so we have all these intersections, and sometimes it's easy to forget that, you still have those privileges. You still have those privileges, and it's easy to, like, the fact that, we're diving in this conversation, it's valuable. There's value.
Yeah.
And I'm opening my eyes and realizing, oh, man, it's like, how rich would this conversation be to have the perspective of a woman of color or a woman period, someone who's experiencing the same things but coming from a different angle, because it's so easy to not think about it because it's not my issue.
Yes.
And to Louis, the other thing you just talked about, this privilege or the cis man and the gay person, is the idea that not only is it like also slightly racist, it's also, transphobic. It's also, just all these different levels of just exclusion. And I think it's because as a gay society, we've already been pushed into being in these sectors, and then within them, we've created these further things because it gives us this sense of elevation. It gives us
it's like crabs in a barrel.
Right.
It's like I'm on push you down because
did you have that experience? Did y'all have that experience? Like, so by the way, one of the people who was I don't think she actually showed up, but there's a book. It's called The Erotic Life of Racism, and it's by Sharon P. Holland. She was one of the people who was at that talk.
Book club?
What?
I said book club.
Okay, book club. Okay, I would love to read this with you guys. But wait. Where were we? Oh my God. It was before this. Erotic light? No, but
We were talking about just like the subset of cultures
Lesbians,
within like
cultures,
transphobic, racist, yada yada.
Racism.
That is brought up because gay male, we've been already excluded as an outcast,
Yeah.
and within we want to validate that we're like better, and that's what we were talking about last.
Yes. Fuck, it was almost in there. I almost had it. It's okay. So I'll come back.
Exactly.
Wait, I'm not ready. So I think and another thing. So I was thinking about lesbians. Oh, crabs in a barrel.
Yeah.
Crabs in a barrel. So
I don't know what that is.
Crabs in a barrel?
Yeah.
So it's an expression that means that when you have limited resources, so if you have a bunch of crabs in a barrel, they're going to climb on top of each other in order to try to get out.
Okay.
Right. So I was going to ask if you two as men of color, when you were like educating yourself, or if you were trying to explore like different resources, did you ever feel like you were competing against other people of color? Like, did you ever find like gatekeeping or like competition in that way?
Yeah. Something on a very practical level. Like, it's changed a lot, and I don't know if it's because there are different black people coming from different areas.
Yeah.
But I make it a point to acknowledge.
Yeah.
Unless they're batshit crazy on the street, and I'm trying to avoid. But it's like, there used to be a time, like when I first moved here, black people wouldn't even make eye contact with you. They would be with their white partner or whatever, and somehow it would be that energy where they think that you want what they have. And I'm just being friendly and being grateful that I see another face and what have you. And it's happened in work and other things where you have individuals who just have like their level of self-esteem is like unwalled.
Yes.
It's like, honey, it's like you just don't know what it looks like for somebody to be supportive anymore, so you think it's something else.
Absolutely. Go ahead. What were you going to say?
I was going to say that I'm such a firm believer in mentorship. And when you navigate and make it up in the world, like it's your responsibility to reach out to the people who look like you and are below you and bring them up. Mm-hmm. And I think that that's super important. And I think that that's how we make progress, as a collective identity.
Absolutely.
Because there's something that bothers me. There's this group called Latino for Trump. Trump. Yeah. And they're very firm about let's close the borders and let's not let them in. But you crossed the border.
Hello.
Like, come on.
That's abusive. You got it, and now you're going to close the door
exactly.
behind.
So I don't believe
Clarence
in that.
Thomas.
And I try to be. So when I see another person of color, and when I was in higher education or at any event, and we have this I'm drawn to them. I think that's why me and Anthony kind of get along, because we've kind of navigated higher education. We're both Latino. We have kind of similar backgrounds, and we just have a lot to share.
I thought it was Zumba.
It was Zumba. Where do you think that came
from? I'm like Shakira. My hips don't lie when I'm in Zumba. So I was just, track men all left and right.
So there was this. Oh God, this is so interesting. I wish we could go longer, but there's. So it's interesting that you say what you're saying, because one of the things that I've heard that described. So you're talking about like the responsibility to like mentor or right. I've once heard that called the poor people tax, where it's like where it isn't, for example, like growing up, like I've worked very hard, right? I'm about to wrap up graduate school. I'll like start working, making money, et cetera, right? And it seems that only for those of us who've come from the hood or have had to work really hard, or we know what it's like to feel poor or whatever, it seems like that burden falls on us a lot of the time, which is like, oh, well, you know what? Like, you know what it's like. You now need to bring other people up. And I've heard that described as the poor people tax. And a lot of that, I feel like, which I don't agree with that idea. I think that
pressure.
It's way too much pressure. But what I'm thinking about here is that I noticed that like when I was applying for scholarships or I was applying to different programs, there's this narrative that's expected of people from my background, right? And it's I worked really hard, blah, 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 blah. And now I want to help other people, right? Like that's the narrative. And and it isn't the expectation is that we aren't, I don't know who this authority is, but the expectation is that we are not allowed to be like, no, I'm going to go into finance because I want to make bank. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
It's like, no, I have to do this thing because I want to help other people.
Yeah, I agree with that sentiment, and I think it's true, right? Like if you have the narrative that people are looking for, especially when we're in the era of diversity, equity, and inclusion, like they want to have the diversity involved. But going back to the idea of the poor tax, and that like it's different if you have the initiative and incentive to bring somebody up versus if your company is telling you to do a mentorship program where you're kind of forced to do this extra work and not even being compensated for it.
Or the people in the community who feel, I don't want to say it like this, but it's the truth, who aren't really doing what they need for themselves, are punishing or whatever the way sometimes they feel about Oprah, or like when they say, what did Obama do for us? I'm all saying, showed you that it was possible.
There's this really great article similar to this, but there's this article that I read. It was back in 2007, I think. Let me see here. It was 2007. It was written by a man named Trevor Hope. He's, I think, a professor at the University of Michigan. Either way, the article is called "The Gay Bitch Here to Stay?" ? And one of the things that I loved about this article, it was one of the first times, because I graduated from high school in 2003. So it was one of the first times I had heard someone theorizing about gay behavior. And one of the things that he said was that part of what's happened for a lot of gay people is that we grew up in environments where we had to like defend ourselves, right? So a lot of like gay men are known for having very sharp tongues. We're known for being witty, blah, 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 right? And so he explains that like, you know, because we had to behave this way, you know, many of us will leave Burlington Coat Factory and we'll come
North Carolina.
Many of us will leave and we'll move to San Francisco, we'll move to New York City or Miami, but we never turn that off.
Yeah.
And so we end up seeing each other as competition, or we end up fighting with each other because we never learn to let down our defensive. So you were, you know, earlier you were talking about like friendship among gay men. I've been thinking a lot about like connection, you know, how I think I've been saying this for years now, that I think one of the things that gay men are really hungry for is brotherhood, because many of us never got to experience brotherhood. And I'm talking about like the kind of brotherhood that people experience of when like they're on a football team or a soccer team or anything like that, which I think, you know, this is a whole other conversation, but I think is like integral to growing up and developing like an identity.
It's community.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's just so important, because I think that the research, or people who live longer in their lives, are like, it's the relationships, the community that are so enriching to my life that have made that. Yeah. And it's, you know, you have to seek it out. Like it's, you know, and it's hard.
Seek it out and cultivate it, which I think is the hard part.
Yeah, you got to be
adult
willing
friendships
to.
are so hard.
We are.
We are definitely at time. We are over time. Sorry,
Thank you again for having me.
Thank you for being on. This was amazing.